Greetings, travellers. Welcome back to the Silver Screen Podcast and the next stop on our journey through 80s fantasy movies. Our season continues this time around with Jim Henson's imaginative, profound dark fantasy adventure, The Dark Crystal. I am Mike, your host and guide through these proceedings, and I'm joined by two returning guests as brave as gelflings and as wise as Aughra. First up, it's filmmaker, raconteur, and friend of the show, Michael Whaley. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good. You put yourself forward for this, so obviously you're a bit of a Dark Crystal aficionado. Looking forward to talking about it.
Aficionado, huge fan, but I know quite a bit about it. But I did rewatch it yesterday just to jog the memory because it had been a few years since I'd seen it.
Awesome, cool. And we're also joined once more by a guest who you may have heard on our Cinema Classics Fiddler on the Roof review, going from musicals to Muppets. It's Lynn. Welcome back, Lynn.
Oh, I just love my Muppets. I'm an animal myself, but
that's my mum's favourite Muppet. I've always been about Gonzo, or sometimes Pepe the King Prawn, as we were discussing.
No, mine's just Fozzie, and I've got a Fozzie as well.
Oh.
I have my Fozzie Bear. I've also got Kermit and a few others. So yes,
Waka.
Muppets are good in this house.
Yeah, you've got to respect the Jim Henson effects and things, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But yeah, cool. What's your favourite Muppet, listeners? Answer in the comments. we'll get back to you. What about you, Whaley? You never told us your favourite Muppet.
Well, they're similar to yours, actually. Like Gonzo's always been one. I mean, I did like starting out Fozzie and Kermit, but yeah, when I got introduced to Gonzo, I've always loved Gonzo. I felt like I related more to him. And then I related once Rizzo came in and was doing that. I related a little more to Rizzo's smartassness than, and then of course Pepe and Muppets from Space when introduced has been a fun one.
Absolutely awesome. All this talk of Muppets is because, as I said, we are going to be looking at The Dark Crystal this episode. It is a 1982 dark fantasy film directed by Jim Henson and Frank Oz, produced by Gary Kurtz and Henson, with a screenplay by David Odell based on a story conceived by Henson. The film revolves around Jen and Kira, two gelflings on a quest to restore balance to the fictional world of Thra and overthrow the evil ruling Skeksis by restoring a powerful broken crystal. The Dark Crystal initially received mixed reviews from mainstream critics. While being criticized for its darker, more dramatic tone in contrast to Henson's previous works, it was praised for its narrative, production design, and characters. Over the years, it's been re-evaluated by critics and has garnered a cult following. And an Emmy Award-winning prequel television series, The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, premiered on Netflix in 2019 and ran criminally for only one season, because it was freaking fantastic and was my biggest exposure to this universe and what got me hooked into it, if I'm honest. That was the thing that made me go back and reevaluate the film, and I thought the series was fantastic. So if you haven't seen it, go look it up on Netflix amongst multiple other content you probably haven't watched at this point. So,
I completely forgot that existed. I remember thinking we were going to watch it, but it was pandemic, and you just reminded me of it, so I will go back and try to watch that.
It is truly fantastic. It really expands the world building in a really good way that the film in 90 minutes just couldn't quite do.
Yeah.
And it's only something like 8 or 9 episodes of an hour, but it's still amazing how much more you can fit into that in that time,
Yeah, I might do that.
Yeah, awesome. So, before we get started, I always like to kind of, start with a couple of softer questions, as I kind of already have by asking your favorite Muppet. But I've been going around so far in this season, I've been going around and asking if you have any favorite 80s fantasy films, because this is 80s fantasy film season. And so, anything you wanted to shout out whatsoever, as long as it's from the 1980s and it's fantasy. Lynn, is there anything that you particularly, other than Dark Crystal, like amongst that genre?
Well, you've already covered one. Well, two, actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you've already covered two. Never-ending Story.
Oh, yeah.
That damn horse. Every. I can't watch it without crying. It's that bad. Because you know that bit in the movie where you think, you can cope with it. You've seen it so many times. And then this lump builds up in your throat and you can't help but start crying your eyes out. I'm like, this is humiliating. I shouldn't be crying over a horse dying in a swamp. It's just a film.
He comes back, jeez.
But the thing is, the film is so good. It drags you into the story, so you're so immersed that you're with that little boy going through it, and then you want to cry your eyes out. I've got plenty from the 80s.
There's so many.
Oh God, yeah, there are so many. Masters of the Universe is one.
We're covering that, yep.
I'm telling you, it's not as bad as people think.
Well,
it is not as bad as people think. People are naysayers. I'm telling you now, they are. I mean, Supergirl isn't that bad. You've got.
I enjoy it for what it is. It is blatantly a fantasy film, but yeah, it's kind of.
Yeah, I mean, the Superman movies in the 80s, they're fantasy films. But I mean, okay, I'm a music fan. You know which film I'm going for? I'm going for Labyrinth.
Yes, yeah. DK covered that on Cult Classics. It was the first one, I think, that launched the season. So, yeah, so far we've been through Labyrinth, Crawl.
I'm telling you, David Bowie went for that script and he says, I want that role.
Yeah, I know.
The puppetry is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think he was like, I am that role is more what he said.
Yeah, I am that role. You're giving me this role. You're writing it for me.
This is me. Did you get my diary?
Yeah, and you know what? Even our youngest likes it. And it's music in it. And the soundtrack is just, not going there. It's just, if you want to hear really good music, get that damn soundtrack. Go on.
Yeah.
It's just music for the brain. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's very relevant because, I mean, Labyrinth and Dark Crystal are often lumped together as the two kind of big Jim Henson productions of the 80s that are fantasy movies. And I've always been more fond of Dark Crystal personally, but I'm guessing I'm probably alone on that. A lot of people tend to give me grief for that one. So, yeah. So what about you, Mr. Whaley? Is there anything we haven't mentioned from the 80s fantasy?
Yeah, well, I decided, I was like, while Lynn was talking, I was like, let me look else, and I forgot so many things are in here, but I'll just go through maybe 5 to 10 of them. Legend. So good.
Oh, yeah.
We're covering that.
Yeah,
very young Tom Cruise.
Some of these are ones that I was like, the first ones that popped in here. I was like, wait, I'm going to be on all these podcasts. Princess Bride's on here in the 80s.
Yeah, no, we already covered it, but I would have loved to have done it.
There's the Baron Munchausen. I was very much a big fan of.
I've never seen it.
Oh my goodness, you need to.
That is an amazing film. I have seen that.
One of my favorites of all time, Willow.
Yeah, we're covering that one. I've never seen it, but I will do.
A couple other ones, they are listed under top fantasy movies, but I think they're doing that. It is more sci-fi, I'd say that, but Explorers was a big one for me growing up. Do you guys remember Explorers with River Phoenix, Ethan Hawke as kids?
I've seen it, but I've seen the poster for it and kind of clips. I've never actually seen the movie.
It's a phenomenal movie. It was. I was their age when this was, or a year or two younger than them when this came out, and this was like it became like, oh, I want that to happen to me. Another fun one was Batteries Not Included.
Yes, I did mention that. Yeah.
Oh, the little baby robots. No,
the baby robot. Last Starfighter.
Yeah.
Yep, I mentioned that as well.
Yep. And then under some of the where was this under action ones? Highlanders, an 80s movie. That's fun.
Yeah, that's a fantasy movie.
I am looking forward to the new one.
With Henry Cavill.
Dave Bautista, Russell Crowe. There's a lot of good people in it.
That's DK's thing.
The Last Unicorn. That's animated, but.
That Vianne mentioned that. I've never seen it, and she said it was absolutely like a seminal thing.
It made me cry.
Yeah.
If you're gonna go down that route, you might as well include the animated Lord of the Rings. I know it's not strictly 80s, but it's going into the 80s.
Yeah.
And a couple of them were made post-production, and then they re-released them. So I don't know how you boundaries blur. But yeah, the original Lord of the Rings cartoon.
And then the last one I'll mention, since we're on animation, is Secret of NIMH.
Oh yeah, I know of it. Again, I've never actually seen it, but I've heard of it.
It had a very famous song there too that I liked, did it? Wait, I might be mixing that up with it. No, Secret of NIMH was great, but it's not the one with the song from the 80s I'm thinking of. But it was still a great movie. But 82. Yeah. But
brilliant.
Cool. Yeah, those are my big ones.
Awesome. Right, the next question then that I'm going to ask is, obviously you guys put yourself forward to be on this, so you are obviously, I assume, at least aware of Dark Crystal. So it's kind of a two-part question, which is why Dark Crystal? What about it kind of spoke to you? What appealed to you? And can you remember the first time you saw it and your first experience of it? And Michael, I'll come to you first just to mix it up this time.
I know we've talked before, and a lot of these that came out in, like, you know, when I was 3 and stuff like that, I know I didn't see for a couple years, but I don't know. I assume I watched it at home on like home video. And I'm assuming it was like my mom or my grandma got it, thought I might like it. And I don't necessarily know what it is. I've always loved Muppet stuff and you know, puppetry. And it was a fun thing. I mean, the Skeksis were scary when I was little, but the you know, and they're the bad guys. They're supposed to be. Now I just find them funny, and I feel like they're now I find them more like a rich class of society that is not attuned to anything, and just they're capitalist in a non-capitalist world.
I was going to say that's just because we live in a time where the current actual people that are running your country are less evil than the Skeksis, or more evil, sorry, than the Skeksis. The Skeksis you look on and you're like, God, I'd love to have them running the place.
There's only 10 of them in this case. But no, I don't know. I've always liked dark stuff too, and you know, there was just something, a combination of fantasy, puppetry, the people behind it, you know, and whatnot. I'm sure my mom was like, "Oh, you should watch this. It's done by, you know, Jim Henson. Does all the Muppets." And I'm like, "Oh, sold," kind of thing. And just I'm sure I saw it in, like, you know, 86, somewhere around there. But I'm sure I just watched it at home.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. And so, what about it grabbed you then? What was it that made you think, "Oh, I like
I think it was, like I said, it was a combination of just like fantasy, puppetry, Jim Henson, you know, just all those, and then the stories. I mean, it's good. It's an interesting tale. It's a, you know, prophecy and all that, which everybody likes, things like that people are meant to be more than what they are, and you know, just a fan. I don't know if there was nothing in particular like, oh, I just loved this or I loved this. It was just a combination of everything involved. It was a good movie, and just have liked it since.
Awesome. What about you then, Lynn? The same question. What about it kind of grabbed you, and can you remember the first time you ever saw it?
Well, I don't know how old Michael is. I know how old you are. I've just turned 46. So around
ancient.
6 years old, I would have been around that age when it first aired on TV. Don't remember much the first time around. I remember it more as an adult, but I know I definitely saw it as a kid. It was probably scary. I always remember, from one of the vague things that I can remember, is the fact I keep thinking that the vultures, because of their beaks.
Yeah, I've always thought them as bird-like.
They're just vultures. You're watching vultures in charge. You could apply that to today if you wanted. I think back in the 80s, Jim Henson was just a magic name. And it's got no human actors in it. It's all imaginary. All the sets are handmade. It's all puppeteers. God, how many people were puppeteering? And if you want to introduce a kid to horror without it being fully horror, there's a movie for you as well.
Yeah, it's strange you say that, because it is. It's one of my earliest memories of it is that I was genuinely, scared of the Skeksis, shall we say, because they are quite disturbing as a kid. And I remember it was that weird kind of repulsed but also attracted kind of thing. That as a kid, you're like, oh, this is subversive because I'm scared, but there's also something kind of weirdly interesting about this design or whatever. And as you said, I mean, I grew up watching the Muppets and Fraggle Rock and stuff like that, so at that point I'd already seen all this. So if I saw something like this, I would have, it's of that same aesthetic that I would have been like, oh, I'm gonna have to watch this because it's, you know, it's Muppets basically. So I know that I watched it, and
it's Jim Henson, right? I grew up with Sesame Street.
Me too,
count, you know. I am the count, let us count. That's the quality you're talking about for TV. So Jim Henson has ramped it up. Right, let's make a spectacle. Let's do something that people will remember. and The Dark Crystal is that film alongside Labyrinth as well. I mean, they're put in tandem, but there's a very good reason why they're put in tandem. They're just great films. I remember my kids watching them and being a little bit frightened. They weren't frightened the next time they saw the film. They absolutely loved it.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, you kind of it's and I think sometimes it's okay to be a little bit scared as a kid, as long as it's not truly disturbing or whatever. There's a little bit of darkness in even fairy tales and stuff, but I don't know if it was maybe a little bit too dark for me as a kid or a little bit too slow, because I don't remember loving it when I first saw it. But as I kind of already hinted at, what really got me back into it was when they were going to be coming out with the Netflix series, and I started catching a lot of things coming up on YouTube that were like the mythology of the Dark Crystal, and I really got into it and was like, oh, it's richer than you think when you actually explore it and the meaning behind it and the world building and everything. And then, like I said, when I watched the Netflix series, I was like, this is freaking fantastic. So the film is, like I said, a little bit more slight than the series, because it only has an hour and a half to do what it does. Yeah. But because it is where everything gets set up, I'm like, I love the world of it, and I got hooked way more into it when you can actually expand into it. And I mean, there's been comic books and short stories and all kinds of stuff, and video games and stuff set in this world, and I think it is a really fascinating one. And like I said, it all started here. This was where its genesis came from, with Jim Henson's original idea and developing it into this. So yeah. Anyway,
I would say you did jog my memory a little bit more, but the first time I watched it, I was, when I was very, very young, a big Fraggle Rock, and we had HBO. Mm-hmm. So I think I might have seen it. They did a thing after Fraggle Rock aired one day, and it was on there. It was like, if you like Jim Henson, you'll like this too. And that's probably how I saw it, now that I'm thinking of it.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Because I was, huge Fraggle Rock guy, and I think that might have led me into Dark Crystal.
That was absolutely my thing as a kid as well, Fraggle Rock. I was obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, I'm going to move on then to just talking a little bit about the behind the scenes of this film. Before I do, though, is there anything that you guys kind of have that you wanted to let me know about, that you're knowledgeable about the Dark Crystal? Anything that you think is of interest that I may have missed? Whaley, I'll ask you first if there's anything you know of, anything that you've kind of heard over the years.
I don't know that there is. I was going to say that I do know that not everything was puppeted. The rabbit glider things, I don't remember their names. Those were actually human inside.
Yeah.
Because they were on stilts for the running and stuff.
Oh, the Landstriders.
Landstriders, yeah. But yeah, no, I don't remember. I don't know if I've heard any fun trivia or anything about.
Okay. That's fine. I have a lot, so I'll get into it, and then you can always respond if need be. So what about you, Lynn? Is there anything that you've heard over the years from Dark Crystal that you wanted to share? Okay.
Like I say, it was promoted as a first major live action motion picture without human actors, but was there some human interaction there? It's got the Muppet collaborators, Catherine Mullen, Dave Golis, Steve Whitmore, and Louise Gold.
Yeah.
Trevor Jones is the film scorer. You've got Brian Froud, who's a fantasy illustrator of fairy and dwarf designs, who also did Labyrinth with Henson.
He did, yeah.
One of the Skeksis actual puppets is in Museum of the Moving Image in Astoria, Queens, New York City.
That's right, yeah.
Language. Kurt stated Alan Garner based language on ancient Egyptian. Odell stated it was him because it's Indo-European roots, and the Podlings language is actually based on Serbo-Croatian, so audiences in fluent Polish, Russian, and Slavic languages could understand words but not full sentences.
Just a little goof. The Gelfling puppets have 3 fingers and 1 thumb on each hand, but when Kira and Jen make their way into the castle via the mouth-like entrance, Kira's right hand has 5 fingers and a long shot. Because for all the long shots, humans were used for the Gelfling puppets.
Oh, right.
The super wide shots. So there's one that you can see Kira's hand, and it has 5 fingers on it.
Oops. Well, fair enough.
I just thought that was fun that they because it's hard to puppet from a wide shot.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. There's a few things. There's a few little cheats, but it's mostly animatronics and puppets and no humans involved for the most part.
I just thought that it was like, oops, there's 5 fingers, and they didn't have the ability to digitally remove it like they.
No, obviously, no, exactly. Fair enough. So are you all done, Lynn?
Yeah.
Cool.
See, I just do a bit of a deep dive, see what I can pull out, and
that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to sort of stand on or step on anyone's if you had done a bit, but I've got little bits and pieces. And again, if you guys have any comments or you wanted to sort of see anything, feel free to jump in. Yeah. So my BTS, and I do have things for each section as we hit it as well, writing, direction, etc. But I'll start with the general BTS. Many creatures, such as the Gelflings, required as many as 4 puppeteers to achieve full movement and expression. In addition to directing, Henson and Oz also performed several characters, alongside, as you said, the other regular Muppet collaborators. Primary concept artist is Brian Froud, as you've already said, and also did Labyrinth. He met his wife, the designer Wendy Meidner, who you mentioned, on the set of the movie, and they were later married. Their son, Toby Froud, worked on the prequel series Dark Crystal Age of Resistance 37 years later, and he's also the baby in Labyrinth.
That is cool.
Yeah. According to co-screenwriter Odell, the character Jen was Jim Henson's way of projecting himself into the film. Yeah, no, it's very. Jen was originally meant to be blue as an homage to the Hindu deity Rama, but this idea was scrapped early on, possibly for controversy reasons. Aughra was originally envisioned as a busy, curious little creature called Habitabat, but the name was rejected by Froud because he found the name too similar to Habitat, a retailer he despised, which I find so funny. No, I'm not calling it that. I hate Habitat. The character was re-envisioned as a seer or prophetess and renamed Aughra. And I think that's what I've got for that until we hit, the different areas and stuff. So, yeah, anything exciting coming out of that? I don't think it's anything too shocking, just a couple of funny things. So,
yeah, no, the thing with being the baby in Labyrinth and also going up to do all that stuff is really cool.
Yeah, he actually followed in his father's footsteps, and he's all over the behind-the-scenes stuff on Netflix about Age of Resistance because, I mean, obviously he knows the ins and outs of it. So
he does.
Yeah. And when I found out he also did play the baby, because obviously Brian Froud was heavily responsible with Labyrinth as well as Dark Crystal for doing the concept art and stuff. So yeah, he was the baby that provided the one that David Bowie. I'm going to steal your baby. Anyway, so next thing I'll do then, I'm going to move to the writing and the plot because this is where things get a little bit heady, and we can kind of talk a little bit about that and what appeals. So first of all, I have a quote from David Odell, the co-screenwriter. He says, "The spiritual kernel of the Dark Crystal is heavily influenced by Seth. I've always felt the idea of perfect beings split into a good mystic part and an evil materialistic part, which are reunited after a long separation, is Jim's response to the teachings of that book. Jim admitted he didn't understand the book himself and that not everyone would understand it or would understand it in their own way, but he thought it opened up a whole different way of looking at reality, which I think is one of his goals at making the Dark Crystal. Most of the philosophical undertones of the film were inspired by Jane Roberts' collection of writings, Seth Material, as they mentioned. Henson kept multiple copies of Seth Speaks and insisted that Froud and David Odell read it. Odell later wrote that Aughra's line, "He could be anywhere then," upon being told by Jen that his master was dead, could not have been written without having first read Roberts' material. Yeah, that's quite a kind of heavy, whoa, line, especially for a kid's film, I think. The film's conceptual roots lay in Henson's short-lived The Land of Gorch, which also took place in an alien world with no human characters. Can't say I've heard of that one, but interesting. According to co-director Frank Oz, Henson's intention was to get back to the darkness of the original grim fairy tales, as he believed it was unhealthy for children to never be afraid. Kind of as I was hinting at earlier, so yeah, scare your children. The Uru, or the Mystics, went through a couple of names, notably Urs, which Henson would pronounce very slowly and with a deep, resonant voice, clearly not being aware that he sounded like a farmer from the English countryside. Odell simplified the spelling to Uru, though they were ultimately named Mystics in the theatrical cut. The name Uru is said briefly only once by the Skeksis as they enter the crystal chamber. The word Skeksis was actually meant to be the plural, with Skeksis being singular, but this idea was also dropped early on. And originally, Henson wanted the Skeksis to speak their own constructed language, with the dialogue potentially subtitled or just left. This idea was dropped because upon test screenings, apparently some of the younger members of the audience kept turning to their parents distracted and asking what was going on because they couldn't really understand it. So, there's a really fascinating thing on the DVD where Odell says that it was all filmed just with this performance in mind, where it was mostly like a silent movie and they weren't really speaking an actual language. But because of that himself and Henson had to spend a weekend kind of locked in a hotel room watching the film back and finding dialogue that would fit the puppets' opening and closing mouths. So he says like the dialogue would never have sounded, because it now kind of sounds a little bit weird and unnatural, which fits the Skeksis. But he said that could never have been the case if it wasn't for the fact that they were just trying to match existing mouth movements that were to do with nothing. So I was like, wow, that is really quite fascinating when you know that, when it's just like, oh shit, what's going to fit here? So yeah, anything there surprising or interesting to you guys?
I mean, definitely surprising that they had to go back and figure out dialogue that would work with the mouth movements.
Yeah, I mean, you can actually, by the way, if you have the DVD or the Blu-ray, you can see the original versions of it, where the Skeksis are just either making noises or coming out with what they kind of a nonsense language that was just made up. And it's fascinating, but you can kind of see why people watching it were just like, what's going on? So yeah, the idea that they were just like, well, find English to fit.
I'm going to say it's from the point of a parent. Ever tried conversing with a 2-year-old when they're babbling?
Well, that's a lot like what that puppetry looks like.
Exactly.
Just like,
so it's when you're watching it, okay, right, I'm telling you, as a parent, you rewatch that film, the film makes more sense because the babbling makes sense.
Absolutely. But no, I love that about the fact that the dialogue was, literally they didn't do the dialogue first. They were just like, what's going to match the opening mouths that we've got? So that's really cool. So yeah, so we're talking about the writing and the plot then. So what about that particularly appeals to you, and what about it sticks in your mind? Whaley, is there anything that you particularly note that we haven't mentioned, or did you want to further on any of that?
Well, I have something.
Oh, Lynn, go for it. Yeah.
Go with Lynn first then.
Yeah. Well, Jim Henson's inspiration for the writing of this and creation was the Lewis Carroll poetry illustrations by Leonard B. Lubin and the Saturday Night Live unfunny puppetry of the Land of Gorsh.
Oh, that's what the Land of Gorsh was. Got you.
Yeah, it's Saturday Night Live. It was the first season. It's adult puppetry skit. And it was King Plubis, Queen Pewter, their son Wiz, and there's a rock prophet called the Mighty Favog, and they always go to him for advice. I know which jokes are going to come when I say this. Members of the royal family behaving boorishly with references to drugs, sex, and alcohol.
So just like the typical royal family then.
I knew that was coming.
I had to do it.
This will throw you back, Mikey.
Okay.
Zero Mortal.
Oh, yeah. Zero Mortal.
You played Tev on stage for the Fiddler.
Yes, yeah.
Well, the ogre's voice is actually inspired by the seagull that he played in Watership Down.
Oh, okay. Cool. That makes sense, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, because apparently it's a crazy seagull trying to overcome Tourette's, and they tried to get a similar voice, and they ended up going up with.
It's Billy Whitelaw who does the voice of the character at the moment.
So they essentially, that's what they wanted. They auditioned. She fitted the bill.
Yeah,
but that's what their initial thing was actually about. When they were also doing the writing out what they wanted the characters to look like in the concept art, because obviously you've got the written version, then you've got the actual art itself.
Mm-hmm.
The podlings are based on potatoes.
You can kind of tell that, really, can't you?
Yeah, but the village is based on actually Henson's own house.
Oh, that's sweet.
I just cannot equate the two things. Potatoes running loose in someone's house. No. It's not happening for me. Sorry. The Gartham, when they were creating the Gartham and they were writing out their ideas, they've based the creation and the writing of the initial thing that went to, okay, here's something, create it. It was based on the remnants of regular lobster dinners.
Yeah, I read that because they went for a lot of dinners, Henson and Froud, and thought, oh, yeah, let's base it on that.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Skeksis, the actual, because there's 10 of them, was originally supposed to be 7 because it's supposed to be based on 7 deadly sins.
Yeah, I read that, but some of them are doubled up.
Because there's 10, they had to change it, so there was a few more variations on that, and obviously different cloaks, but they still look like vultures. They still look like they've been slapped by the back of a bus. They resemble deep sea fish creatures. Now, I can only put this back with writing to someone like in Lovecraft.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And the design, when they wrote this out and they had to sketch it and they had to put the written concept in for this, they settled on reptile, predatory, bird, and dragon. Each one had rules, but then they made the mystics so soft and attuned to nature that they were far too gentle. So I think the way they wrote this script was, you have the power which has no compassion and won't budge, but then you've got the other side, which is the gentle nature, the philosophy, the knowledge, the calmness, but they won't act either.
Yeah.
They want to keep the power, they want to keep the peace.
Yeah. No, that's fascinating, and that is exactly kind of the primary point that I would have made about the writing, is that I remember once you realize it, and I don't think I picked up on it as a kid, but once you realize it is basically about, you can never fully be whole unless you incorporate, good and bad elements, and if you were all entirely good, as you said, you're going to be more focused on, I just want to keep the peace, and you're going to be a little bit weaker in some respects. And as you're saying, if you're just pure evil, then you've got no empathy, and you're just going to be, sinister bird creatures.
The thing is, this film, right, the way they wrote this film and they concepted this film, everyone has good and evil inside of them.
Yeah.
So it's actually reflective of human nature as well, which is a very, very clever slant on how they've actually done this. Everyone has good and bad. Which side do you pick? Do you want to kind of kick someone out of the road so you can get somewhere? Do you want to undermine someone? How did the crystal get broken in the first place? That's one thing they never addressed. They show a picture of it. They hint at it,
yeah. They hint at it and said that it was their own arrogance or stupidity.
So I think that's also a factor of the writing, to keep
mystery.
The mystery in it, instead of explaining everything, writing it so the mystery is there, and you keep asking yourself, okay, but how did they get broken in the first place? And then 2019, you've got Age of Resistance, which then goes more into the background of it. Still doesn't fully answer the question.
No.
So that's the hook that keeps you going. Are they eventually going to explain?
Well, if the show had went on, possibly.
Clever writing.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I agree. Yeah. There's a mystery element to it. There's also the philosophical undertones and the very kind of heavy, like I said. And I swear this is relevant. This isn't just me bringing it up because, I always do. But it always reminds me of, there's a very early Star Trek episode where Captain Kirk beams up and is split into good and evil selves. And the ultimate resolution of that is, you can't be just either all good or all evil. You have to be this combination of two. You can't live without, both aspects of yourself. And I think it's playing basically to the same theme, which I guess is probably, it's been spoken probably in philosophy and whatever for years, and maybe religion or whatever, I don't know. But yeah, as a kid, like I said, I didn't pick up on that. And then when it did click with me, I was just fascinated by it. The idea that the Uru and the Skeksis were once these Skeks, but then they separated, and now they're kind of, they're not in balance because they are pure good and pure evil instead of the mix that we all need to be. And again, fascinating stuff for a kid's film. So, Whaley, did you pick up on any of that, or is this something that really appealed to you as well?
Well, as a kid, it was a giant surprise. Hindsight, it makes a lot of sense that things aren't...
Well, you say it's a surprise, but they hinted it enough times in the film, because again, I didn't realize until I was rewatching. As a 6-year-old,
they didn't hit it enough time for a 6-year-old to understand.
Yeah, I'm surprised, because it really hits you over the head with it when you watch it back, because there's times when
when you watch it back,
the one Skeksis bleeds, and then the mystic starts bleeding from the same hand.
I know that they do that, and I knew they were related, but I still didn't, as a child, realize that they were one. I just thought they were connected. If one dies, the other dies, kind of things. Especially with them having the same numbers left, with only 10 at the start of the film, and both leaders are dying. I got that, but I still didn't realize, oh, that's right, they're just one people that split apart, because I'm seeing two different looking in my thing, animal type puppets, like they just don't look anything remotely alike in my brain. So it like that's why I didn't make that connection early on.
Yeah, no, sorry, forgive me. I didn't occur to me as a kid. You might think they're connected without thinking, well, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it just means that they're like, this is a fantasy world. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
I guess is my 6-year-old outlook on it. But no, so I did not make that connection early on, and then when I watched it when I was a kid, as I rewatching and stuff like that, and like then I was able to see like, oh, okay, yeah, I get that connection for good and bad. Now, the only thing I would say is in my rewatch yesterday, there is a flashback when is it Agra's telling the thing about like the one of them broke the crystal. So that's why they're having all these problems, and it doesn't go into details of that they split at the time, obviously, because that's supposed to be air quote surprise. But I do remember specifically seeing that yesterday. So there was we kind of know how they got there in the movie. Yes, I'm sure. And when I go back and watch the show, I'm gonna learn a ton more. But
yeah, the show does get into it a bit more, but it's fascinating because it is just basically another way of saying that something was split in two and it caused a problem. Although it wasn't literally split in two, there's a shard of it missing as opposed to the.
But it showed somebody like in the movie. Yes, it shows somebody hitting the original light crystal and then causing everything that was happening.
That's why they kind of say that the whole point is you've got to reunite the shard with the crystal.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying, like, I know that it was. It didn't necessarily need to. I'm glad the show is doing that and going in a little bit more and their backstory with all that. But
it does, but it doesn't fully explain it. It still keeps that mystery because, as I said, the whole point is
it's one of those things. Just like
you don't really know.
Because at that point too in the movie, you got to think just like, yes, the audience would love to know more about it, but it doesn't further the story for what needs to happen in the story that we're watching. To explain the whys.
As I was hinting at, I'm happy with what you get, which is when the Skeksis have fully reformed and they say, like, we were foolish and in our kind of foolishness and arrogance, we broke the crystal. And I don't need to know how or why, what they were trying to do. I'm sufficed with, okay, they did it. It was stupid. It was an error, a mistake that they made. And now, it kind of screwed everything up and we need to recombine it.
I always like to imagine that, like, because they were like, they were 50 good, 50% good, 50% bad. But one of the people were like 51% bad, and that's why it happened. That's what I've always kind of told myself without knowing any more of the story to it. Just like
that's a fascinating thing to see, as you say, because if the whole thing is about balance, if it is like, well, one was born that was very slightly more towards one way or the other, and it doesn't have to be evil. It could be that one was, more towards the good and was like, I'm going to try. No, it could be like, oh, I'm going to try and use the crystal to bend everyone to the will of goodness and try and create peace in the land. And again, it was stupid because you're just disrupting balance that way. So
some people just want to watch the world burn. And
exactly. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I did notice something as an adult that, it might be the philosophical side. But I kind of thought the way they've placed the characters, that the main two Gelflings are the actual physical equivalent of the shard itself. So you've got a layer upon a layer upon a layer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's probably not a coincidence that there's two of them, and they are also all about kind of balance and duality, and there's one male and one female, and, it plays into these kind of ideas, I think, quite deliberately as well.
But it's a very, very creepy idea that someone can strap you down and sap your life essence. I think that's a very clever concept written into the script to kind of build that fear up, because then when you see how they drain them and what happens to them, it is very scary, that setup.
I agree, and I was going to ask about that because obviously it does feed into, like I said, this ancient idea, going back to Buddhist texts and all these kinds of things. It kind of feeds into that, you could have this living life essence, and again, if that is drained out of you, then you become effectively these really creepy podling zombies that you see pottering about. But there's also something really creepy and sinister about the fact that the Skeksis are drinking that to stay young. And it's like, ooh, I don't know why that adds an extra layer of creep factor for me, but it just really did. Like, even when I was young, I was like, oh, I hate that idea that they're taking your vital essence and they're just drinking it. Ew.
Yeah, it's the last gasp of a dying society that's trying to
species,
not to die. Like that's what
Yeah.
that's what I've always kind of been my take on the Skeksis with that, is they're doing everything they can to not die. So
And the point is they're doing stuff that's unnatural. They're not, you're not supposed to do this.
Anything they can.
Yeah, it's kind of the whole Sith thing, isn't it? Like, oh, you're battling with unnatural forces to keep yourself alive when really you're not supposed to exist like this. Just reunite with your other half and you'll be fine, kind of thing. So I did think it was interesting that the way that they died is even completely different. Like the Skeksis Emperor crumbles full on Indiana Jones style, looking like really quite freaky, and the Mystic just literally fades into little stars. It's like, wow, it's amazing how different these two things are.
It's just a take on like bad people age poorly.
Yes, yeah, true,
and good people age well. That's really what usually, like, you can usually always tell, like, oh, that person's all first, like, oh, they're 30 years old and they look 70. Yeah, that's because they're a terrible person.
I get it.
I think it's the same thing. The take on it with the difference between the Skeksis and the others with the way they die.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. But you can also argue that it's also in line with how they wrote this script. That I think I've got on somewhere on what I managed to watch of the film. It's bordering on very religious because it's the ritual of the sun. They are
the three
worshiping,
suns.
They are worshipping. Bear with me. They are worshipping a crystal. It's all-consuming quest to heal, a prophecy for a gelding to undertake. Good against evil. It is very Lord of the Rings, but the pilgrimage for the mystics.
Yes,
because as soon as they know the crystal is activated, they have to head for that final showdown, knowing it's the three sons.
Yes, and you're exactly right, because what we associate a pilgrimage like that with is more kind of biblical holy type situations, crossing the desert for 40 days or whatever. And I have to say that shot of the mystics where it's like a wide shot against the sunset and they're all kind of such a gorgeous shot. I mean, it's very evocative, but it just looks incredible as well. So, cool.
Yeah, you can imagine the tent and the people carrying, the poles, those that weren't able to walk or... people I'm being serious, and it's also reflected in the way that they die, because it's, if you want to be as religious as that, hell you burn, you have ashes.
True. That's actually the point. So, it's strange you say that, because that actually there's a deleted scene again on the DVD or on the Blu-ray that I've got, which is it literally shows you that fact, because it's an extended version of the two funerals, and the Skeksis guy literally has ashes that they have to set fire to get rid of, whereas as you see in the film, the mystic has nothing left. He's just faded and kind of become sort of starlight, and they're just like, oh, well, we're going to burn your possessions so that they can be with you, I guess. So it is literally, like you said, the bad ones are burning and the good ones have just ascended to this better life kind of thing. So, fascinating stuff. So, did you have anything else about the writing that you wanted to mention, Whaley, before I move us to the direction?
No, I don't have anything else for that.
Cool. Well, I'm going to move on to the direction. I've got a little bit of sort of, as I said, interest, hopefully, about the behind-the-scenes stuff. It was co-directed by Jim Henson and Frank Oz, who are pretty famous. I'm sure you probably know them from other things. They were in charge of every aspect, but according to Henson, his own strength was in composing camera shots and movement, whereas Frank Oz was more in tune with character development and the dynamics of a scene. Obviously, they both went on to direct individually other things as well. As you mentioned, Jim Henson's original idea came from Lewis Carroll poetry, which showed crocodiles living in a palace wearing robes and jewelry. And that's where the original idea came from, and why the Skeksis kind of look a bit crocodile-y still, I think. Because it's kind of crocodile bird situation. Each Skeksis suit required a main performer from Henson's main team of Muppeteers, most of who had worked on The Muppet Show, as I said. Their arm would be extended over his or her head in order to operate the creature's facial movements, while the other arm operated its left hand, and another performer would operate the Skeksis' right arm. Wow. A team of 4 technicians operated the Skeksis' hand and face animatronics, and the performers compensated for their lack of vision by having a monitor tied to their chest. The Chamberlain Skeksis in particular was built with 21 electronic components. So, that's when you think of, like, I mean, this was 1982. This is, as you say, way before the advanced kind of technologies that we've got now. And it must have been a nightmare. To that end, The mystics apparently were the hardest creatures to perform because the actors had to walk on haunches with their right arm extended forward and the full weight of the head on it. Henson said that he could only hold position in a mystic costume for about 5 to 10 seconds before he started to feel pain. Ow! What the fuck, man? Yeah. Are you guys aware of that? Did you know that the kind of trials that these puppeteers went through for this?
I assumed, but I didn't know specifics.
Yeah.
There are different techniques, and of course we have more advanced animatronics. I mean, theme park animatronics are better than what they had in 82, you know.
Yeah.
But the idea that there's 4 of them in there. Some of them are in really contorted kind of twister positions, and it must have been a nightmare. But anyway. Let me just say, once filming was completed, the film's release was delayed after Lou Grade sold ITC Entertainment to Robert Holmes Accord, who was skeptical of the film's potential due to the bad reactions at the preview and the need to revoice the film's soundtrack that I mentioned earlier. The film was afforded minimal advertisement and release until Henson bought it and funded its release with his own money, which again I didn't know about, but kind of fascinating. The Dark Crystal was the last film in which cinematographer Oswald Morris involved himself before retiring. He shot all the footage with a light flex, a unit placed in front of the camera which gave a faint color tint to each scene in order to give the film a more fairy tale atmosphere similar to Froude's original paintings. And I'm pleased I read that because I was trying to put my finger on what looked, and I could only think of faded light or something that gives it that kind of fairy tale look. So I was pleased to hear exactly what it is. Whaley, you're a bit of a filmmaker type. Are you familiar with anything else that I might not have been aware of, the techniques that might have been used for the directing of this?
No, I don't think so. I've never really looked into it as much since I saw it when I was a kid, and only been a few times since I was actually doing filmmaking things.
I see. Yeah.
I just looking at watching it yesterday. There were some cool things, but there was even a few things that's I wonder how they did that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just because I've never done that, and/or I do want to make something using puppets and puppetry, but I haven't yet. So
that makes sense. Well, it's a completely different type of filmmaking. I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Obviously, it isn't the same kind of thing. I was just curious about, like you said, camera sort of things that are baffling to me, like lighting and camera filters and lenses and stuff. And I'm like, what did they do to get it to look? Because it does look a little bit kind of fairy tale. It has that weird dream haze kind of thing.
That is definitely a lighting thing that you can do with that to make to have a haze look to everything. And there's lighting tricks for that, and even in '82, there was because it's basically all lighting. Yeah. I mean, there was a very few digital effects in there. Just like I got the digital effects at the end when the after the Skeksis they were reunited and everything, and then said their stuff and then went to leave and go out the top. I was I immediately thought, oh, this is the limit of CGI, just like in Ghostbusters.
Yeah, basically very primitive.
It gave me that flashback to Ghostbusters, with the spirits going around circle, then going up towards the, that's what I got. I was like, that's what they could do digitally, and
yeah, I wasn't sure. And again, I don't know if I want to know because it would kind of ruin it, but I wasn't sure how they were getting the effect of the crystal sort of light beams exactly sort of hitting who it's supposed to kind of suck the energy out of them or whatever it does at various times.
I thought could be a special effect.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably set something to do that lighting wise, but I mean, it may be something that was known back in cinema before I was involved, that to be able to make something, because you can reflect light and make it do certain things if you build shapes certain ways. I mean, we've known that for years with, way back before there was electricity, that you can reflect light certain ways with gems and stuff like that. And I don't know that that's what they actually did or not.
No, and I think I have a feeling it must have been a special effect because it's just so perfect. If you know what I mean, it doesn't look. It's a very exact sort of thing.
Like they've known how to do that for centuries. Like how to reflect light in certain ways. Like lighting in the pyramid. Like all I can think of is Fifth Element with Aziz light. But
of course,
reflecting of light with mirrors. I mean, they can do the same thing with types of gems. Okay. You can just look at it and how it does it, but you'd have to make something a very specific shape to get it to go in the exact spots you want it to and stuff. But I don't know that that's what they did. They could have, just for that, with that lighting, they could have done something in '82 with special effects. If those movies made in '72, I'd been like, they probably did something more practical. And they still may have. I'm not sure.
Yeah, as I say, I don't know if I want to know because it's kind of I like the magic of it. And to that end, when you were saying like, there's a couple of times when you were like, I wonder how they did this. There was one time in particular that I genuinely don't know how they did it, and again, I'm not sure I want to know. Which is when Jen is breaking into the crystal chamber, and the puppet genuinely starts climbing up the wall. And I'm like, how the heck did they get a puppet to climb in 1982 with no sign of strings or anything like that? And it just looks fully convincing. I was like, that is impressive. You know?
I don't know what the technology was for erasing stuff in post. With like fishing. Here's the thing: without it being HD, because it wouldn't have been, you might have been able to get away with it not as clear with like very thin, translucent fishing line.
Yeah.
Able to do that without having to worry about removing it, and light catching it. But yeah, I'm not sure either.
I have to just give a shout out to just the fact, and I suppose it's partly direction, but it's also performance. Just the way that the Muppet performers, as I said, are so good at bringing life to these inanimate puppets and giving them, you know, the correct fluid movement and everything, and the way everything is, it feels like a kind of lived in sort of world, not just because of the way it's been created and envisioned, but the way that it's acted in. And like even the Skeksis, and again, this is a performance thing, but the way they make kind of weird noises along with their speech, it just fits their characters so well. The way they're always going, and I'm like, that's it's a really interesting thing to have done, but it just adds so much life, you know.
Oh no, it's a Chamberlain. The Chamberlain. Oh
yeah,
he goes.
So
how many pictures of
friend?
Exactly.
There's about hundreds.
Yeah. Evidently, I was wrong. There is no computer generated imagery in the 1982 Dark Crystal. It predates the use of widespread use in cinema, relying on practical techniques. Multiple puppeteers, obviously, with mechanisms for facial movement, but it was using matte paintings and use of physical miniatures and painted backdrops created the vast environments. So that had to be some sort of matte painting thing that they were able to use for that. Right. Is the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
And then like I said, climbing up the wall, either it was a wide shot and it was a human climbing up the wall in the.
I don't think it was. It didn't look like a person.
Or it was, they were able to just do it without showing the
wires, or
the wires that are moving the puppet up, puppeting the puppet.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Cool.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's so much, and I don't want to start going into individual things. The direction's fantastic, and it's absolutely punishing, time-consuming stuff. And again, I don't really want to ruin the illusion for anyone. Just watch the film, and you can see how well directed it is by Henson and Oz. And like I said, the way that it all comes to life, even though there's not really any people on screen, which you never really question. So, did you guys have anything you wanted to kind of shout out or mention about the direction?
The music helps direct as well.
Yes, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Good score always does. No, I can't really think of anything else direction-wise that I would.
Cool. Well, I'm going to move to the acting because I want to get through it as best I can, and without. There's a lot of people in this, so and credit where it's due. Most of the performances, I have to say, are not credited to one person. It's a combination of things, whether that be multiple puppeteers or the fact that it's obviously not the same puppeteer who then voices the role. Jim Henson and Frank Oz apparently decided not to voice any of the characters because they believed their voices were too recognizable from their work on the Muppets. So Henson apparently did the puppetry for Jen, the Gelfling, obviously. That character was voiced by Stephen Garlick, as we've said. He did the High Priest, Skeksis Ritual Master, and the Emperor who dies at the start of the film. Both of those voices were provided by Jerry Nelson, who again is a Muppet voice. Catherine Mullen puppeteered Kira, who was voiced by Lisa Maxwell, which I always find really weird because she's a British actress who I know from like The Bill and random British kind of soap operas, and then TV presenting on a show called Loose Women. And it is just, you did not think of her as a movie star. And it's so weird every time I think that is her doing that role. British people that are listening to this will know who I mean and think, really? But yeah, you've got Dave Goals, who's another Muppeteer, playing Fizzgig, the dog-like animal. Percy Edwards did those voices. And he played the general, the easily angered Skeksis Garthim Master, with Michael Kilgareth providing the voice of that general. And Lynn, you should be aware of Michael Kilgareth because he's a big Doctor Who performer who did things like the Cyber Leader, the K1 robot. He was in a lot of Doctor Who stuff, usually in costumes.
See, I don't have to bring up all the Doctor Who links now, do I?
Oh, I'll do it if you don't. You also have Steve Whitmire playing the scientist, the Skeksis researcher of the crystal's power. He did the voice as well, and he's also the Kermit the Frog voice actor who came after Jim Henson. Louise Gold played the gourmand, the Skeksis organizer of banquets, but Thick Wilson provided that voice. Brian Mule was the ornamentalist, Skeksis designer. Urza, the mystic ritual guardian, but Sean Barrett provided that voice. And the mystic master who dies at the start, which he does voice. And again, I'm not going to start going into everybody because there's lots of other things. But Joseph O'Connor, I have to say, I was impressed by as the narrator, but he's also the voice of the Skeks once they've recombined. And there's a bunch of people that did various uncredited stunts and stunt doubling as human performers, particularly sort of dwarf actors and things of note, who you might have heard of. Kieran Shah and Deep Roy are both in this, or are both kind of stunt people who did some of the human aspects for this. So yeah. So as I said, anything about the performances that stands out that we haven't already said? Because like I said, it's such a weird combination of things, and you'd never question it. It never feels disjointed. I just love all these characters, and you know they are real to me.
For sure. Yeah, no, I liked them all. You know, I think all the performances were great.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
What about you, Lynn?
Voice acting is one of these things where you've got to be able, with the short amount of lines or how many lines you have, to actually put emotion into them, put what you need into them, and deliver the lines. And there's no one at fault. It's just immaculate. They've just nailed it. But here's the thing. I found out a few facts. Lisa Maxwell in 1993 auditioned for Daphne Moon and didn't get it. It went to Jane Lee.
Oh, no, for Frasier. No way.
Yeah, she auditioned for Daphne and it went to someone else. Billy Whitelaw, I didn't realize her middle name was Honor. She was a demonic nanny in The Omen.
Oh, yeah, I did read that somewhere. Yeah. That's a freaky performance as well from that film. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I completely forgot, the 1996 film Jane Eyre, she was Grace Poole.
Ah, I didn't see
the
that.
nurse that looks after the mad woman in the attic. She was in Frenzy and Hitchcock film, and she played Hetty Porter. The music, if you want to go into the music to help direct it, when she's singing in the boat and they're going along the river. Yeah,
it's nice that song.
Did anyone hear the tones of Doctor Who in it?
I really did. I thought the same exact thing.
Was it like the me Doctor's or theme. Was it not me?
It's fully the Doctor's theme. It really is.
I just thought I can hear that chord of notes. Where have I heard it before? God, no, that's not
was the female voice for me. It was the way it genuinely sounded like the whole. Oh,
yeah, that's what I kind of thought as well.
Oh, okay.
But here's the thing: if you're doing the music, you've got to do music all the way through for the direction, right? So you're going to the potato people now, aren't you? To be sure, to be sure, to be sure, and the Greek style music, and you see them playing instruments like the little band in the alcove, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why are you getting Greek style music? Well, everyone's dancing, everyone's, you know what I mean? The music is helping the director in the atmosphere for the puppets to work and for the script to work as well. I just think it's a very clever, very well written, very fast paced at times, and at the right times slow paced. You can't find fault with this film. The direction in it, be it music, be it voice acting, be it script, be it the background. I mean, when he walks off after his master dies and you just see that panoramic shot, right? They're directing your view. He's going out into the big wide unknown. What is that not the start of? That's the start of a journey.
Of course, yeah. It's all the same thing, yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Sorry, I'm enthusiastic about this because it's just...
That's cool. No, that makes sense. That's all good stuff. Yeah, you've hit on a lot of the kind of stuff that was important in terms of, you know, the feel it gets across in the direction, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a lot else. I have a little bit about the VFX production design that I wanted to kind of chuck in that I think adds a little bit of context. Just to say that the hands and facial features of the puppets were apparently controlled with relatively primitive rods and cables, but radio control did take over many of the subtle movements. And as Whaley had said, human performers were inside the larger puppets, supplying basic movement and things, because in some cases it was considered too dangerous or exhausting to do it in every case. So it was just the larger animals, not the smaller ones. Swiss mime Jean-Pierre Amiel led a team of dancers, acrobats, and others to perform the Mystics. And many of the Mystic performers would go on to work on the Star Wars film Return of the Jedi, as would two of the Skeksis puppeteers, Mike Quinn and Tim Rose, who you may have seen in conventions and stuff. I've seen they've done some things like that. In designing the Mystics, Froud portrayed them as being connected to the natural world more than the Skeksis. Henson intended to convey that they were purged of all materialistic urges but were incapable of acting in the real world, and Froud incorporated geometric symbolism throughout the film to hint at the implied unity of the two races. The Gelflings were designed and sculpted by Wendy Meidener. They were difficult to perform as they were meant to be the most human creatures, and so their movements, particularly their gait, had to be as realistic as possible. During scenes when the Gelflings' legs were off camera, the performers walked on their knees in order to make the movements more lifelike. The character Fizzgig, who was obviously Whaley is a fan of, judging by the little avatar, was invented by Frank Oz, who wanted a character who served the same function as the Muppet poodle Fufu, feeling that, like Miss Piggy, the character Kira needed an outlet for her caring, nurturing side. Okay. And finally, each Gartham costume weighed around 70 pounds or 30 kilograms. So Gartham performers still in costume had to frequently be suspended on racks in order to recuperate. Again, ouch. And the only other note I have about all of this. Oh, sorry, what was that?
The Gartham costumes, though.
Yeah, they're gross. They're very crab-like and kind of kind of scary.
No, the worst. Do you know what I thought? I'm so sorry for thinking this. I kept thinking Robot Wars. Ramp it up.
Kill a lot of the Gartham. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, I've got something here. Like I say, you've got Angra has Brian May hair and wrinkled pug face with ram's horns.
Yeah. No, Ogra is a weird one. Yeah.
But the Tomb Raider vibes you got off of that. That's one thing I did get, and it's like you've got huge robot like Matilda style beetle tanks with several pincers and armored plating, and then you've got the crab pincers. I mean, come off it. Yeah, just send them into battle and you'll scare everyone silly. There'll be no casualties whatsoever. You know, they're just ugly. But I think the Skeksis, I don't know. Do they look like vultures? Are they more like, like they've been hit like the back of a bus? They've got ugly beaks, beady eyes, sharp teeth, wrinkled skin. I mean, and then it's when they're, when they're screaming and they're celebrating, it's just, that just sends you, horrible. Just absolutely horrible. But there are some things there. I mean, the Gartham, I don't know whether you agree with this as well. I kept thinking Hellboy. One of the films near the end.
Yeah, I suppose it's all practical effects, so I can see why you would leap to that, maybe. Yeah,
it's the way that they're all armored and they all come to life, and they're kind of all scuttling. And I'm like, no, I'm not thinking Hellboy. Yes, I am thinking Hellboy. Why am I thinking Hellboy? No, I should not be thinking this at all. But it's just, you've got the guy that it's kind
the
of
Chamberlain
like
guy.
No one's safe. You can't be pleasant to this guy. He's going to stab you in the damn back. One of my favorite lines is, you've got someone who, when she's caught and the Gelflings legged it, right? And she's brought in the sack instead. And then she's saying all these obscenities, how dare you, and that. And then you've got this ladylike vulture that's dabbing the edge of her mouth with a hanky going, ew, how crude.
Yeah, there are lots of moments like that, little characters.
I just thought, you've just been tearing lumps of flesh off something and then you're saying how good. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
where's your double standard?
Well, that's evil for you, isn't it? They're always hypocrites.
But
So, yeah.
you can't fault this film. I'm really sorry. You can't fault it. It's just the designs. I want one of their swords though.
Yeah, that was impressive as well when you think they're puppets handling these swords on the Ritual of Stone or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty good.
And they're real swords.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're real swords. They have been handcrafted. I want one of these swords.
Well, yeah, I just have to say, I don't want to spend too much longer because I've got just a couple of quick things and then we'll get to the kind of the end parts of the podcast. But I have to shout out, like I said, the general production design. I think the castle just looks sick. It looks amazing. It's a shame that it collapses at the end of the film because I think it's great. And
sure.
yeah. And then I'm going to move to the music and sound. I only have a tiny bit about that because you kind of mentioned it already. It was composed by Trevor Jones. He apparently originally wanted a score which reflected the setting's oddness and used acoustic instruments, electronics, and building structures. But this was scrapped in favour of an orchestral score performed by the London Symphony Orchestra once Gary Kurtz became involved because it was felt the unusual score would alienate audiences. The main theme of the film is a composite of the Skeksis and Mystic themes. And Jones wrote the Baby Landstrider theme, apparently in honour of his newly born daughter. So that's quite sweet. And yeah, the music does have an effect as well. As I said, it all comes together. You can't really, single out one piece that falls apart or one piece that's more important than the other. So, Whaley, you haven't really had a chance to say much. Was there anything about the production that kind of stands out to you that that is a favorite of yours before we get into actual kind of favorite characters and moments, etc.?
I mean, I thought it all was phenomenal. Like the design of this world in general, plus all the intricacies of like Agra's science experiment house with how showing how the planets move and their solar system and all that, like just so many tiny little details that just make this movie make you feel like you're in this world that doesn't exist. And that's tells of a good movie and good production design, being able to watch this and feel like this makes sense. This doesn't seem like it's just, I mean, we all know it's fictional, but it feels like it's not. And I think that's always a key to great production design.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it captures the imagination, doesn't it? So yeah.
Sure.
Go ahead.
That was basically it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, in that case, I'm going to move us on to the next bit then, which is I'm going to start by asking us our favourite character moment in line, because I'm never sure if it's our stuff or the audience stuff that comes first, so I just do whatever I've written down first. So, I'm going to go around and ask us, as I always do on my episodes, the favourite character, favourite moment or scene, and favourite line in the film. And Whaley, I'm going to come to you first. Why not? So, do you have something you can shout out for each of these?
I mean, I want to say physics, but...
you can if you want. He is a character.
He's a character, and he was defending his people and not liking bad guys, which is all he's supposed to be doing.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think 6-year-old Michael's favorite character was physics, so it's always been in the back of my head. I mean, I'm a big fan of. I'm going to do this and say the name wrong. Hold on a second. I'm a big fan of Kira. I really do like Kira's the character of Kira. Just very confident, very even though they thought they were the only, they learned a bunch of stuff, but their abilities to what they can do, and they keep cool the entire time under pressure, which is very cool for a character in a puppet movie. But I mean,
she's also kind of feminist when you think, because she's not. I mean, the end, fair enough, she requires the damsel in distress saving, but until then, she's kind of, she's the one leading the way and saving people left and right.
I've never felt like she was a damsel in that. I think to me, that wasn't a damsel in distress saving. It was like her throwing the crystal to Jen to get to do that. He was in the position to do that. It wasn't like it was like him trying to do that. It was just like, well, I may die, but we can at least save the world, and through it. Yes. Like they sacrificed themselves. So like in any situation, they weren't a damsel at all to me. They technically sacrificed their life to save the world.
That's a good point.
So like I don't feel that they're damsel at all. Favorite line? That's going to be more difficult.
And moment. Did you give us a moment or seed as well?
You know what? I'm going to go with. For my favorite character, I'm going to go with the Kira sacrificing herself to save the world. For my favorite scene, for my funniest scene, I'm sure it's going to be something with Chamberlain. Just because the character was fun. And
I have to say, if you do get around to watching Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, some of the people that they've cast as the Skeksis are brilliant. The only one I can remember off the top of my head is that Simon Pegg does one of the voices of them.
Awesome.
And it's awesome. They're all really good.
But I'm sure one of my favorite lines is something Augur said, but I just can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Okay, fair enough. Let's go with could be anywhere then, if after it's been said to be dead, which is a pretty deep line, like I said. So cool. What about you then, Lynn? Do you have a favorite character, moment, or scene on a line?
I got too many to pick from.
Well, pick.
I've got the fact that Chamberlain keeps the very first time he goes, tilts his head. And you just know that's gonna be bad as we're walking along. It's just that really tiny indicator. I'm trying to look through.
I know what you mean when he's kind of when you see that he's following them, and then you just get the little and you're like, oh, what's he up to?
Yeah, I just kind of think, I love the when they're doing the ritual of the stone. Absolutely love that as a scene. I like it when he goes into Augur's laboratory. Again, I get Tomb Raider vibes. With the planets revolving and all the mechanical. I just thought, it was just the way that the Gelfling reacted, the way he looked. It was the music. It's just something that just pieced together really, really well. Another one that stood out for me, and it's disgusting. It really is disgusting. The feast, where they've got all the tables, and then they're tearing into everything, and then you get Augur coming along, and then you've got, all of a sudden the tissues are coming out. Ew, how crude! One should not do that. I just think that's, or the boat's good for me as well. When they're in the tavern and it's the music, and I have to put this in. The grumpy Tribble, when they're going on the land striders, and she tells them, "You've got to stay here." And he's a tantrum. And he screams
like that
and screams. Yeah, he screams. Fine, you can come along then. Yay! And he jumps up. So I would probably say for my favorite scene is probably the furry Tribble with teeth and eyes.
Okay.
I would say overall kind of scene that makes your skin crawl is the feast. And favorite line would probably be the crude one.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Go
That's
with
cool.
The furry Tribble. Sorry.
Or just the screaming of the furry Tribble. And is he your favorite character?
Because imagine the Klingon one doing that. Oh god, no.
So is Fizzgig your favorite character, or did you respond more to one of the heroes?
I've got too many to pick from. I'm just going to go with the furry one.
Yep, fair enough. Okay. Well, I'll give you my stuff then, and then we can get onto the audience response and then finish up. My favorite character, I said I like the Skeksis because they display a lot of character from their puppeteering, but Augur steals every scene she's in because she's just such a defiant badass. I just love the fact that she doesn't care. Like, the Skeksis are terrifying, and she gets put in front of them, and she's like, "Oh, you brought me here, have you idiots? You could have just asked me for help, but no, now my house is destroyed, and you've all made fools of yourselves."
That actually was going to be the line that I was thinking of when I was been thinking on my favorite Augur line. That was the one I was looking up.
Yeah, I don't know the exact wording, but it is something along the lines of, like, could have just asked, but now my house is all burned down, Gelflings have ran off, and you've made idiots of yourselves. You've captured me, and I'm not a Gelfling, clearly. So I kind of love that. my favorite moment or scene, it's actually when you fear Kira's essence is being drained, but then with Ogra's help, again, she frees a bunch of animals and starts leading the rebellion. So it is kind of a Kira scene and an Ogra scene. And my favorite line, because I'm just very basic sometimes, I really like the kind of rhyming prophecy, which is, what is it? When single shines the triple sun, what was sundered and undone shall be whole, the two made one, by Gelfling hand or else by none. Because, it sounds cool. It's fairy tale-y. So, yeah. With that out of the way, then we're going to switch to our audience response section, which won't take long because I didn't get a lot of responses. I don't know if this just isn't a hugely popular film or what the deal is with this, but I have a very small smattering of stuff. So thanks to the few people who did respond. And again, if I put out an audience prompt to ask your opinions on films, feel free to, get in touch. Let us know. We kind of want to share your opinions as well as our own and get into it. So without further ado, then, from Facebook group Northeast Retro Den or NERD, John Smith says, I saw one clip as a kid and it scared the life out of me. Didn't watch it then till I was a teenager. Interesting film, but a pretty simplistic story. Maybe that's why it didn't do very well. Too creepy for kids and not engaging enough for adults. Yeah, I can kind of see where you're coming from. From the group 80s and 90s movies, Jan Volbrecht says, beautiful piece of art. Brian O'Neill just says, freaked me out for ages. And finally, from Blue Sky, ianuru.bsky.social, and you can probably tell where this is going from that name. The Dark Crystal is my favorite thing. For some reason, it just captured me as soon as I saw it. The world, the creatures, the philosophy, everything was terrifying and wonderful. I've collected all sorts of memorabilia and dressed up for conventions. It's the place I go when there's nowhere else. So that's really sweet, and it's good to know somebody's into it on that geeky of a level, because I think we've all got our things like that. So thank you, Ian Uru. And yeah, then all that remains then is for us to give our conclusions and our final scores out of 5 stars for this film. Let's see, Lynn, I'm going to start with you. If you have a conclusion and a star rating for me.
You're asking a silly question, aren't you?
I always have to.
You know where I'm going with this. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5.
Fair enough. Yes. I don't think I've ever reviewed anything with you that you didn't give perfect scores to. You love all things.
I like my movies. There's always good and bad in each movie, but the thing is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they've not done much to the Age of Resistance. They've made it more a companion piece to the actual film, which is good because they've not tweaked too much with it.
Okay, no, fair enough. You've more than justified the score, and nothing wrong with that at all. That's awesome. So what about you then, Whaley? Do you have a conclusion and a score out of 5?
My score is going to be 4.5.
Okay.
Ultimately, I think Dark Crystal is a great film. It's not a perfect film, but it's a great film. I do think the changes they decided to after originally doing things helped it, like not doing subtitles constantly for children.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think it's a very realistic, without being scary to me. Like, there are scary elements, but there's scary elements in everything, even if it's a kid's movie. So ultimately, I think it's just a very fun watch, very cool, very little dark, but not dark. I mean, good prevails, and which is something we need this day and age completely.
Oh yes,
is we do need good to prevail. But ultimately, I think it's definitely worth watching, and if you haven't, you should do that. It's a great film.
Awesome. Cool. I thought I'd kind of trimmed my conclusion, but it looks longer. I always say this. It looks longer than I thought, so apologies. I'll try and get it as quick as I can. I just said this is a tricky one for me to judge. It's not the best film we've ever covered, but it might genuinely be one of the strongest examples of world building, conceptual design, and sheer imaginative vision. On the surface, it's a fairly basic quest narrative. As an adult, the stakes don't always land, and at times it feels slight, almost like a straightforward children's film, but then it swings hard in the opposite direction with moments that are genuinely dark, creepy, and unsettling. That contrast can work, but I do find myself wishing the filmmakers had committed more fully to one tone or the other. I also think the runtime holds it back. It feels too short for the scale of what they're trying to do, which means that certain ideas and emotional beats don't quite get the space they need to fully land. I understand why. It's an incredibly difficult film to make, but you can feel that limitation. Where the film shines is in the design. The creatures, the environments, the puppetry is all extraordinary. This is where the film really comes alive. And then underneath all that, there's something even more interesting going on. The themes are much deeper than the surface story suggests. There's a real focus on duality, opposing forces or balance, what it means to be whole, and that gives the film a kind of philosophical weight that elevates it. In some ways, the world and mythology are actually stronger than the film itself. The Netflix Age of Resistance series expands on these ideas brilliantly, really letting them breathe, but this film is where it all began. This is the foundation, and there's something undeniably enchanting about that. You have to admire the technical achievement too, the puppetry, the voice work, the overall aesthetic. It's a film that might feel a little slight, a little uneven, and maybe a bit overambitious for its runtime, but it also created a fully realized world that works both as a child-friendly adventure and as a darker, more thought-provoking fantasy. For all its flaws, and there are a few, I can't ignore just how much this film creates, how much it dares to do, and how much of it still lingers after it ends. I was hovering between 3.5 and 4, and on another day I might land lower, but I know this is a film that grows on me and one I keep coming back to, so I'm actually going to give Dark Crystal a 4 out of 5 from me. So yeah, pretty easy to work out the average there, putting it together, dividing by 3, or just, looking at what comes in the middle. Final score there for the Dark Crystal of 4.5 out of 5.
That means I win again.
Which means you're exactly right again.
I'm exactly right.
Yes, you gave the correct score. We don't do any betting or anything.
That's happened a few times on these.
It has, yeah, actually, yeah, you're right. And yeah, fair enough. And with the Skeksis ascending and a hopeful peace descending on Thra, we take our leave of Jen, Kira, and co. And it just remains for me to thank everyone who's listened thus far. Hopefully you've enjoyed it and you're still enjoying our 80s fantasy season. Again, do always check us out on social media. You can find our link tree in the episode description. Follow us all around there. We also have things like merch stores. You can become a channel member, all that good stuff. You can always find it in our descriptions of the YouTube videos, or if you're listening on audio, I think they're in the descriptions there as well. So, and of course, I have to thank my two fabulous guests for coming here and joining me. First up, thank you, Lynn, for coming back. Did you have a good time?
Absolutely fabulous, darling.
Oh, how droll. She says, how uncouth. I love that you noticed that line particularly. So yeah, thanks again for joining me. And do you have anywhere people can find you online or anything you wanted to plug?
Well, I suppose I could plug the podcast I'm a part of. Adventures in Time and Space with normally Sean, Peter, Stephen, and myself. We review classic and modern Doctor Who. So we're currently ending William Hartnell's era, which is an eye-opener. And we're also coming to the end. We're actually doing Utopia for our next recording, which is where the Master comes back. So yeah, we're also, and I'm giving you a heads up here, we're looking into recording for the 20th anniversary of Torchwood. So nice. At some point this year, there are going to be episodes released where we're reviewing Torchwood episodes.
Nice.
Watch this space.
Yeah. I always put links to all of your podcasts because it's quite a big podcast network, Thistle Podcast. So I always have that in the episode description because Stephen provided me with them. And you can also occasionally catch me on that Doctor Who podcast. I just joined you guys to review Blink a few weeks ago, didn't I? So yeah, looking forward to hearing the rest of Series 3 and Season 3. So awesome. Yeah. I'll always link all that, as I said, and I'll be back. I think I'm back for Scratchman is the next one I'm reviewing, the Tom Baker audio.
I'm looking forward to Scratchman because I've got the book and I absolutely adore the book. So yeah.
And also thanks again, Mr. Whaley, for joining us for your first of, I think, a few 80s fantasy season things. Have you had a good time?
Oh, of course. Always a pleasure coming on here and getting to talk about movies.
Awesome. And did you have any way people can find you or anything you wanted to plug of your projects?
Few things. Always Michael Whaley on like TikTok, Instagram. You can also do CM Whaley photo on Instagram. You can see some of my photography stuff. And on YouTube, I do have a page where I put some stuff on occasionally. My under Turn a Phrase Films, and that's about it.
Awesome, cool. And I think you're back for, like I said, I can't remember what the next one is, but I think you're back.
I'm doing Willow and Labyrinth.
Willow and Legend, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah. Or maybe it wasn't Willow. No, I want to do Willow. I'm doing Legend and Labyrinth, I'm pretty sure.
Labyrinth's already been done. So
maybe it wasn't Labyrinth. My book's downstairs with what I've got scheduled. So
I have you for Willow and Legend because they're full.
Willow and Legend, yeah, those are the two that I'm doing. I know I've got a couple more coming up next month.
Awesome. Well, I'll see you again for those, and I will, of course, link all your things in the description as well. So yeah, next Saturday, Cinema Classics takes on a true titan of cinema as we all work on our bad Brando impressions and look out for horse heads in our beds. Say no more about that. And the 80s fantasy season resumes in 2 weeks when we revisit an old favourite and pay a late but heartfelt tribute to its director. Let's just say as you wish. But in the meantime, don't accidentally break any jewels and split yourself in two, and do not mess with Aughra. Good night for now. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to the Silver Screen Podcast, hosted by Mike Wilson. Additional material by Mike Wilson. Follow us on social media, our YouTube channel, or wherever you get your podcasts. Link to all of these places can be found via the link tree listed in this episode's description. This podcast is a Media Matters original production, created, produced, and edited by Mike Wilson. We'd love it if you'd like, subscribe, and share us around like a beloved old video cassette. We hope to see you next time for more movie magic. Until then, remember, life moves pretty fast, so stop and watch a movie now.